Okay guys, so today what we're going to do is a bit of a DIY paving project. The paver I've decided to choose today is an Enduro Stone Silver. It's a natural granite paver. It's come out of Austral. So what we're going to do, I'm going to sit back here in a moment, I'm going to show you how to set a job out. We'll go step by step all the way through, and at the end you'll be able to do a little DIY paving job all for yourself. Okay, so the project that we're doing today is this walkway that's going to go down into around to their garden, so they're going to be able to sit down underneath the tree over there and have a couple of beers or something like that in the summertime. So we're going to have a nice straight 1200mm path that comes down, and it's going to swoop around the garden edge that's already there. Then we're going to sweep back around to the stairs that are down there by the house. This is all going to open up to be a nice big area. So as I said, you can sit your little chair and tables down here and roast out in the summer sun. So firstly, here is all the things that you'll need to set out your project. Okay, so the way we're going to set this out, I'm going to measure off the house. So what you need to do is find 1 square point to work off for your entire job. So what I'm going to do is measure off the house so I can get this path exactly the same width off each end of the house. So what I'm going to do is going to measure it out. It's 2300. What I want to do is come in about 50mm because this rock edge could be a little bit uneven. So what I'll do is I'll put my mark there at 2350. Then I'm going to measure back off that mark 1200mm to get my width of the path. What I'm actually going to do is just go that little bit further, an extra 50 to 100mm, just to allow for any overhang of that paver. We don't want it falling off the edge because that could make that paver sink. So now that we've got our 1200 mark, I'm going to transfer that down to the opposite end of the house. So now we're just going to take a peg and we're going to put it straight where we had that paint mark. We're going to wrap a string line around that one. This is going to give us a nice straight line. So we're going to pull the string line all the way down to this next part here before the curve starts. We're going to tie that off, nice and tight, and then as simple as this, grab your spray paint and draw that line. So the lines that I've just marked aren't overly important because what's going to happen, once I start the excavation, they're going to be gone. So then we'll set it out exactly spot on once we start getting the excavation done and the road base prepped. So yeah, this is what you can use for the excavation. It's a bit of hard yakka, but you know what, it's doable. If you've got limited access, this is all you're going to be able to use. But for me on this job, I'll show you what I'll be using. So for this one, I'll be using the little 1.7 tonne excavator. A lot less manual labour and a lot quicker. Just remember, call dial before you dig on 1100 because you don't want to be touching anything under that ground that could hurt you, such as water, electricity, Telstra, etc. So with the excavation, I need to take it down 150mm. Reason being is, I want 100mm of compacted road base, 20mm of washed sand, and the 30mm paver, which gives me 150mm. So I'm going to dig that out now, and then I'll be bringing in the road base and levelling it out. And also, know your job site. Look up for power lines and be careful of that house. As you can see here, we've come across the tree root. If I don't get rid of that, you're going to have problems with your paving because it's just at the surface there at the base of the 100mm road base. I'm just going to chop it out either side, it won't affect the tree. So I'll get rid of that and then we'll be free of problems. Okay, so as you can see what we've done now, we've dug it all out with a little excavator and we've carted it out with the ganger. You can see here we've got the required depth of 150mm. It's exactly what we need. So we've got the 100mm road base now to come in, we'll get that nice and compacted, and then I'll show you how to do the sand. So what I just want to do now, before I compact this road base, is I've just wrapped the string line around the paver there, and I'm just going to pull it all the way through down here. So I've picked the point where I want to finish down this end. If I just check that, I can see it still needs a fair bit to go in there. So what I'll do is I'll compact that because it's about, say 80 to 90mm now. I'll probably need about another 20 or 30mm on top of that. So I'll give it a quick pack and then I'll top it off. Okay, now that we've got the road base levelled off to where we want it, we're going to need to wet it down. You don't want to soak it. All you want to do is just get a little bit of moisture into that road base. so it can pack nice and hard. If you wet it too much, your whacker packer will sink and that won't be good. Okay, so now it's time to whacker pack. What you want to do is probably go over the base 2 or 3 times just to make sure it's nice and hard. So now we're up to the sand, the bedding sand. We've just compacted our road base down and got all our levels right. This is known as bedding sand or paving sand, wash sand, river sand. You just go to your local landscape supplier. I'm sure you'll be able to pick some of this up. We'll use this because it's a lot grainy than the rest and water will actually run through it. So the screed rails we'll be using today are 20 by 20 square tubing, which is available at any of your local steel stores. So feel free to pop in and grab some to help you finish your project properly. Okay, so now I've set up my pads on either end. I've ran the string line through. Reason for that is now I'm going to install my screed rails underneath the string line. So what I want to do is probably set the top of the screed rail at 25mm below the string line. Reason being is, yes, the pavers are 30mm, but once we lay these pavers, at the end of the job we're going to run a vibrating plate over the top of it with carpet, and that'll compact the pavers down into the sand an extra 5mm and keeps them nice and tight in place. Okay, so now we're up to laying the pavers. So what I've done is I've measured off the house as I did earlier in this video to show you how we needed 1 square line. So we've squared off the house. I've brought it out in line with the steps. So we've got 1200 of path. It's going to be enough room to get across there to where that rock edge is already in. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay it in a brick pattern all the way down here. And as we get to the bottom, we're going to start the curves, which I'll show you how to do later on in this video. So for now, we're just going to get back into this and start laying a couple of pavers. Okay, so easy way to lay the paver. Make sure we're on that string line. Spot on. So what I like to do is use a rubber mallet for each individual paver and just give it a tap into place, just so there's no rockiness and it beds into that sand. Now when we lay the next paver, what we're going to do is we're going to have a 2 to 3mm gap, which you can use a packer if you like. And that way, once we butt those up together, we get that nice couple of mil gap for later on when we sand the pavers in. That way the sand will go into the gaps, stop them from moving, and once we pack it all down, it's going to be spot on. Okay, so another reason that we leave this gap in the pavers is because if we butt them up together and lay them tight, over time they might rub and you'll end up with all the edges chipped off and it's going to look pretty ordinary. From where your screed rails were, just throw a bit of sand over the top of it, nice wooden float. Nice and easily fill those holes in, take away any excess sand. Okay, so what you can see here, we talked about having the packers earlier for the couple of mil gap. So what I've done, I've had to pull them out because otherwise you're going to keep tripping over and you're going to need thousands of them. So what I've done, I've pulled them out, and as I've pulled them out, I've started to sweep in our pave set, which is our sweeping sand. I'll explain that to you a little later when we're doing our finished product. But the reason being is so that gap stays as it's already been in there, and they don't slide together again. Okay, so as you can see, we're well into the paving now. What I have to do here, I've got this curve going in, so I've just set up this conduit. Quite easy, just some 20mm electrical conduit. You can buy that from any electrical store or Bunnings or somewhere like that. So I've put it in, I've just pegged it against the straight edge from where I want to start my curve. Then I'm following this garden edge around. Same thing down here, just put a peg in, just to hold it back, tap it off, all good. So we've got that mark there. So what I'll do now is I'll mark those pavers with a texter, and that will give me my curved cut that I have to go and do. Quick hat change, sunny, it's getting a bit hot out here. So what I've done, obviously I marked that one before, then I've just come across 1200 to this side, set my conduit, come down the other end, come across 1200, set the conduit there, put the pavers to hold it in place, double check the measurements at 1200 all the way through, spot on. All we've got to do now is follow that line with a texter. Okay, so what we've done, we've had that texture mark there for the curve. Just used a 5-inch grinder with a diamond blade on it just to score the top of it. So it'll give me that exact curve that I need. Then I'll take it over and I'll cut it on the brick saw. Okay, so as you can see, we've just about completed this paving project. We did put a couple more curves in, but I explained those to you earlier. Now just to finish off, we did use a bit of pave sand at the top. So now I just want to throw a little bit more over the job. We want to sweep it into all the gaps. You want to make it very nice and full, but make sure you do not wet this stuff until you've completed the job. Otherwise, if you wet that while it's sticking on the pavers, it will stick to the paver and it's quite hard to get off. So once I've finished sweeping in, I'm going to show you how to haunch the edges. And Bob's your uncle, she's almost done. Okay, so now we're up to the haunching. What the haunching does is hold the paver in place. And what we use for the haunching is a mix of concrete, which is 4 sand and 1 cement. So we want to drag out any excess sand. We want to go underneath that paver by about 50 to 100 mil, and then we're going to push that concrete up underneath it so it holds it in nice and tight. So we'll just throw it in there on the edge, packing it in underneath, like so. In there nice and tight. Then we just put a bit more on the edge. Come at it, bring it out about 100 mil. Smooth it off just below the paver. We should be able to cover that with a bit of mulch. Okay, so we're almost done. 2 things left to do. All I'm going to do now is grab the whacker packer, put a bit of carpet on it with some tie wire or cable ties, and compact over the top of these pavers. And what that will do, it will sink the pavers into the bedded sand below, fill all the gaps, final sweep over the top, and then we'll be done. Okay, job's almost done. Last step. What we're going to use is a high gloss sealer to bring up that wet look in these pavers. You need to use a special one and make sure that it's for use on granite and natural stones. You can't just grab any old sealer. So make sure you go to your local hardware store or paver supplier to pick up this bad boy. Okay, so there you have it. Another job, signed, sealed, delivered. I'll tell you what, don't be scared to get in and have a crack at home, because I tell you what, the job will look bloody fantastic, just like this one here. And as I always say, have fun and keep on dancing.
Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I wanna really, really wanna zig a zig.